Okay, so today our topic is eicosanoids and prostaglandins. Another short topic, but it is very important, short notes and viva as well. So please pay attention. So in today's class, we'll be discussing what are eicosanoids, what are prostaglandins, how are they produced, what are the importance, what are the functions, and also what is their role in therapy. All right, before we go into what is an eicosanoid, let's do a revision of what is polyunsaturated fatty acid or PUFA. What are they? They are the fatty acid that has more than one double bond in their hydrocarbon chain. They are linoleic acid, linolenic acid, and arachidonic acid. We'll be focusing more on arachidonic acid today, okay? So, linoleic acid, as you can see, this is the structure. It has 18 carbons in its totality, and it has two double bonds, one at 9 and one at 12 carbon. If you come from the carboxyl side, we will find that it's at C9 and C12, the double bonds. Same with linolenic acid, which is also 18 carbon containing fatty acid. It has 3 double bonds, one at 9, one at 12, and one is at 15. Arachidonic acid, which we will focus on today, has 20 carbon and it has 4 double bonds. One is at 5, one is at 8, another at 11, and another at 14 carbon. And this is the structure of it, the basic structure. So what are eicosanoids? So they are pharmacologically and they are physiologically very active compounds. They are derived from the polyunsaturated fatty acid, mostly from the arachidonic acid. And they are so powerful and they have such biochemical and physiological value that they are even considered as local hormones. They are secreted directly into the blood. They have no storage, and they also have autocrine and paracrine function. Anybody can tell me what is an autocrine function? When within the same cell the signal is released and the target is also within the same cell, so that you can regulate the function of that particular cell. What is paracrine? When an adjacent cell is involved, cell signaling is done to the adjacent cell and you can modulate. The target is the adjacent cell, right? So you can modulate the function. What is endocrine? When a distant tissue, so far away from where the signal is coming from, the signal goes from one tissue to the another one, which is at the distant level, and then you can modify the function, and that is called endocrine, like we see in hormones. In hormones chapter we have already seen. Okay, so now eicosanoids themselves are classified into prostanoids, leukotrienes, and lipoxygens. Prostanoids are classified into prostaglandins and thromboxanes. So today we'll be focusing more on prostaglandins and thromboxanes. So let's see. These are, although all the linoleic acid, linolenic acid, and arachidonic acid, they all give rise to some forms of prostaglandins and some forms of leukotrienes and lipoxygens. But as you can see, even from this picture, that arachidonic acid has most of them, right? Lipoxygens are also involved here, derived from arachidonic acid, prostanoids as well as leukotrienes. Now, what are prostaglandins? So they are derivative of prostanoic acid. Prostanoic acid is not found in biological state, it is only found, it can be synthesized in the lab, okay? But what you have to know is that this is the basic structure of a prostaglandin. It's a 20 carbon fatty acid containing compound, and it has this 5 carbon structure, a ring, and then 2 side chains. One side chain has 8 carbons, another side chain has 7 carbons in it. The one that has 8 carbon, it lies above the plane of ring, and the one that has 7 carbon chain, it lies below the plane of ring. So this is the basic structure of a prostaglandin. Based on this structure and what substitutions we make on this ring, they are divided into different classes. So we have 9 classes of prostaglandins. PGA, say like a PGI, PGA, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay, 9 of them. One thing to remember here is that PGI is also known as prostacyclin because the structure is a little different. It has an extra ring formed Here, this is the structure of a prostacyclin or PGI. So here there's an extra ring formed, right? So this is from C9 to C6 to C9. So starting from C6 to C9, there's a, instead of being a linear branch or linear line, it forms a ring instead with the help of oxygen. So this is that's why, because just because of the difference in structure, they are also called as prostacyclin. All naturally occurring prostaglandins have an hydroxyl group except for PGG, which has a hydroperoxide group, meaning OOH instead of OH. Okay, not COOH but OOH. These are different types. On the left, different types of prostaglandin. You can see this is the 5-carbon ring, and उसमें जो substitutions है उसके according we have different types of prostaglandins, and then we have prostacyclins. They are also divided into 3 different series. So series 1, series 2, and series 3. Series 1 based on the double bonds, the number of double bonds they have. So series 1 means that the double bond is between C13 and C14. Series 2 में 13, 14 and between carbon 5 and carbon 6. Series 3, the double bond is between carbon 13, 14, carbon 5, 6 and carbon 17 and 18. Series 1 prostaglandins are derived from linoleic acid, series 2 from arachidonic acid, and series 3 from linolenic acid. So what are thromboxanes? Very important. We have learned about prostaglandins. Let's learn about thromboxanes. So they are synthesized in the platelets. The main function of the thromboxane is to cause clotting. They cause platelet aggregation, meaning platelet को साथ में लेकर आना. And why do we need when do we need platelet aggregation? Whenever there is any injury, right? We want, there is bleeding, so we want the bleeding to stop. We need the clotting to happen. Thromboxane is the one that helps in that situation. The other function of thromboxane is that it also causes vasoconstriction. Okay, so it constricts the blood vessels, so there is less blood flow, there is stoppage of blood flow, and then it also forms clot. So that is the function of thromboxane. But the effects of thromboxane are inhibited or opposed, you can say, by prostacyclin or PGI. This is important, we will see why later on. Okay, so how are they formed? Prostaglandins and thromboxanes, how are they synthesized? So they are synthesized from the arachidonic acid, as we have seen. So arachidonic is an essential fatty acid as well. Why are they called essential fatty acids? What are essential fatty acids? Anybody? What do you mean by essential fatty acid? Fatty acids that are not synthesized in the body but are required by the, they have to be supplied by the diet and are required by the body, okay, not synthesized by the body. So arachidonic acid is one of them. They can also be derived from linoleic acid. So arachidonic, some people say, are not truly an essential fatty acid, but anyway, so it is also a component of membrane phospholipid, arachidonic acid. One of the membrane phospholipid is lecithin. So very little arachidonic acid is present within the cell. So the main source of us getting arachidonic acid is from membrane phospholipid. So what happens? From this diagram, so this is membrane phospholipid containing arachidonic acid. Whenever there is any trigger through the help of molecules like bradykinin, cytokine, histamine, whenever there is an inflammatory reaction or inflammatory signal, phospholipase A2 gets activated. It helps the membrane phospholipid to release arachidonic acid from lecithin. Now this arachidonic acid will be acted upon by 2 enzymes, COX or cyclooxygenase enzyme, and then there is LOX or lipooxygenase enzyme. So therefore the 2 pathways, different pathways, are known as COX and LOX pathway. Okay. From now onwards, I will call cyclooxygenase as COX. So understand that I mean cyclooxygenase by that. So through this pathway, arachidonic acid will get converted into prostaglandins. Different types of prostaglandins, I'll tell you in the next few slides. And through the LOX pathway, we will get lipoxins and leukotrienes. Alright? Next. This will give you a better idea. So here we have phospholipase A2 enzyme, okay, giving rise to arachidonic acid. So arachidonic acid through COX pathway or cyclooxygenase pathway. So the enzyme involved is cyclooxygenase. Cyclooxygenase has 2 activity. One is peroxide activity and one is cyclooxygenase activity in itself. Through the help of cyclooxygenase enzyme or the cyclooxygenase activity of the COX enzyme, they form PGG2. PGG2 is unstable, and through the peroxidase activity of the same enzyme, they will form PGH2. This PGH2 then becomes the precursor for formation of prostacyclins, prostaglandins, and thromboxanes. Through the enzyme prostacyclin synthase, we have prostacyclin. Through the action of thromboxane synthase, we have thromboxane, A2 and B2. And through the help of PGH2 isomerase, we have all of these other prostaglandins over here. So cyclooxygenase is also known as PGH2, prostaglandin H2 synthase. Okay, that's just another name. Let's see LOX pathway. So from LOX pathway, we have 3 enzymes involved: 5-lipoxygenase, 15-lipoxygenase, and 12-lipoxygenase. So through the help of 5-lipoxygenase enzyme, we have this intermediate over here, which is 5-hydroxyperoxy-eicosapent tetranoic acid, through which we have formation of leukotrienes, different types of leukotrienes. Then through 15-lipoxygenase activity, we have lipoxins. Other leukotrienes are formed by 12-lipoxygenase. Remember the names of the enzymes at least. Now that is how they are formed. They are formed in the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay. COX is a suicidal enzyme. You must remember it from the enzyme inhibition. So now, let's go into the role of prostaglandin. Why are we even reading about prostaglandin in the first place? So prostaglandin it's even known as the local hormone because of the effect it has on the body. They are in very minute amount. Prostaglandins, or even just eicosanoids in themselves, they are released in very minute amount, but even a few nanograms of it causes a huge biochemical reaction in the body. So what do they do? What is the function? What is the role in the cardiovascular system of our body? PGI2 or prostacyclin. See, even prostacyclins are different, like I2, 3, 1, like that. But just understand for now, PGI or PGI2 prostacyclin, it is synthesized in the vascular endothelial endothelium. Okay, so the action is opposite to thromboxane. So it will inhibit platelet aggregation, and it will cause vasodilation. Okay, it causes the vessels to dilate. So therefore, obviously, whenever there is an endothelial injury, when there is any injury to the blood vessel, what ends up happening is that there is no release of prostacyclin. Therefore, thromboxane will act. So, agar kabhi bleeding hua, to thromboxane will act and it will cause clotting in that particular region. So that will stop the bleeding from happening. It will decrease the blood flow to that area as well, right? That is acted upon by thromboxane. But PGI2 does the opposite. Okay, whenever there is when there is a need, then if there is no injury, then the main function is to cause platelet aggregation. Along with that, PGE2 also causes vasodilation. Vasodilation will cause decrease in BP. Okay, and vasoconstriction will cause increase in BP. One thing to remember is that prostaglandins, although they are prostaglandins, they have different functions. Sometimes they can also be opposing to each other. Okay, you will see it later on. So PGE2 in the reproductive system, PGE2 and PGF2 alpha, they causes uterine smooth muscle contraction. So they are used in the medical termination of pregnancy. Why? Because it will cause contraction of the uterus. So contraction of the uterus will then help in expulsion of the product of conception. Along with that, they are also used in induction of labor, as we have seen the same with oxytocin as well in a hormone class. That whenever a person is already term pregnancy, not having any pain, no labor pains, let's say amniotic fluid is already reducing, baby is in distress, you need to get the baby out, but the mother is not having any labor pain. So what we do is that we induce the labor, or we start the labor with the help of the analogs of prostaglandins, okay, along with oxytocin. Oxytocin is the main drug. Along with that, we have analogs or synthetic medications of prostaglandin that will help in the induction of labor. Along with that, management of PPH. What is PPH? Postpartum hemorrhage. So whenever there is hemorrhage, huge blood loss after delivery, we use prostaglandins the analogs of prostaglandin to stop it, okay, along with oxytocin. So whenever we have to manage this patient, it doesn't take one drug. There are a series of drugs that we have to give to the patient in a matter of minutes. So one of them is prostaglandins, okay? So they're very important. In the renal system, PGE, which is a type of prostaglandin, increases GFR, increases urine output, as well as sodium and potassium excretion. So we have already read it causes smooth muscle contraction. So same with the bronchial smooth muscles as well. It causes, dilation. So PGF, here you will see PGF is a bronchial smooth muscle constrictor. PGE2 is a bronchodilator. That's why I said some of them have opposing effects, okay? So since PGE2 is a bronchodilator, then the synthetic analogs of PGE2 is then used for bronchial asthma. And what will PGF cause? It will cause asthma. It has a role in causing asthmatic attacks. In the metabolism as a whole, they cause lipolysis, glycogen formation, and demineralization or mobilization of calcium from the bones. So in inflammation, also it has a big role to play. Okay, so what happens when there is inflammation? You will see that, let's say a mosquito bit you. What will you see in that region? You will see a swelling, right? There is edema, there is itching, there is redness, there's a little pain. And if you see the temperature, if you just touch also, you will see that the temperature is a little raised in that area compared to the rest of the skin. So those are signs of inflammation. That is caused by all these PGE2 and D2. What do? They increase capillary permeability. What is capillary permeability? This is the capacity for them to permeate, or it gives permission. It permits the passage of, say, water, ions, and all of that stuff through the blood vessel. Okay, so it increases that, and then it causes erythema formation, and then there's wheal formation at the site of injury. All the symptoms are because of arteriolar dilation, or the capillary gets dilated, and that happens because of the action of these two. In the GIT, PGE, gastrointestinal tract, PGE inhibits gastric juice secretion, okay, and it also promotes mucin secretion. So mucin helps in protecting the gastromucosa from the harmful effects of hydrochloric acid, right? So that's why they're used in peptic ulcer disease. The analogs that we have, medicines made out of synthetic forms of PGE. And pain and fever. This pyrogen, what are pyrogens? They are fever causing agents. So let's say any virus or bacteria. They also promote prostaglandin synthesis in the body, and that leads to formation of PGE2, particularly PGE2 in the hypothalamus, that causes fever. Okay, along with these chemicals, histamine and bradykinin, they cause pain. Even the pain of migraine is sometimes related to the prostaglandin secretion. So as you can see from the previous slides, because of the biochemical reaction, we can easily understand where they can be used. In bronchial asthma, right? In bronchial asthma, in hypertension, gastric ulcers, thrombosis, or the prevention of thrombosis, we can use them. So they are also used in medical termination of pregnancy, as I've already said. And these medications, aspirin, ibuprofen, or NSAIDs, or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, like your paracetamol, ibuprofen, diclofenac, all of them are used for the prevention of it because they block cyclooxygenase pathway. We will see later on. So a little bit about aspirin and how aspirin helps in preventing a person having a heart attack, or if a person is suspected to have a heart attack. Now, aspirin, when it is given at low doses, say 75 milligram per day, it irreversibly binds with cyclooxygenase enzyme, or the COX enzyme, and you can COX enzyme, so therefore there will not be any production of thromboxanes. Thromboxanes, what do? They cause aggregation of platelets and thrombus formation. What is thrombus formation? It is a big clot inside the blood vessel, right? That will disrupt the flow of the blood. We don't want that. So that is helped by aspirin. So along with that, aspirin not only reduces the formation of platelet aggregation, it also kind of does not affect the vascular endothelium. So there is no effect in the low doses. It doesn't affect vascular endothelium. So when endothelium is not affected, prostacyclin will act on it, and that will also prevent platelet aggregation from forming. Okay. Therefore, any person who comes to us in the clinic having chest pain, signs and symptoms of chest pain, you cannot find any other cause why the person will have chest pain. You do an ECG, and just for preventative, as a preventative way, you will give them low dose of aspirin for any person coming with chest pain. Okay, in adult coming with chest pain, and that is why we are giving them aspirin, tablet aspirin in chest pain, because of this reason. So this will somehow helps to a great degree in preventing heart attacks from happening. It's been seen among the Inuits or the Eskimos or the people living in the polar region or very cold region that they take a lot of carbohydrates and fats, right? A lot of fatty diet, and by fatty diet I do not mean burgers and French fries and all that. They take fatty diet in the form of marine animals. So these people, they don't have vegetation, they don't do agriculture. So the only form is a form of nutrition is through hunting, right? So through hunting animals, especially fishes, they eat fish oil, fatty fishes consumption. Okay, so they have a very high amount of fats in them, fish oil. And even though they consume this much amount of fatty acids, fatty food, it has been seen that they have very low incidences of cardiovascular accidents, coronary artery diseases, or heart attacks even. So they found out that the marine animals or fishes, they have a high amount of EPA or eicosapentaenoic acid, which is another form of an arachidonic acid, okay, PGI3 and thromboxane 3. So what it does is, PGI3 is a potent inhibitor of platelet aggregation, you've already seen before, and thromboxane 3 is a weak aggregator. Okay, all the thromboxane causes platelet aggregation, all the prostacyclins cause prevention of platelet aggregation. So understand that whenever platelets will aggregate, whenever they come together, they will cause clot formation and heart attack or even a stroke. But here, what happens is, since PGI3 is so much in amount in the fishes, in fish oil, and less amount, and thromboxane 3 is there, but it is a weak platelet aggregator. So overall function is that there will not be any platelet aggregation. Therefore, you will not see much incidences of heart attacks and cardiovascular accidents in these patients. Therefore, they say, eat fishes more than any other animals. Fish oil is good for health because of these reasons, because of these polyunsaturated fatty acids present in fishes. So, gastric ulcer. We have seen PGE1, E2 decreases the gastric acid secretion and it increases mucin production. Therefore, they are obviously used in duodenal ulcer and gastric ulcer. So duodenal and gastric together are called peptic ulcer disease. So their analogs are used in the treatment of gastric ulcer. So there are ways that we can, prevent the synthesis of prostaglandin as well. From this diagram, phospholipase A2. So how are they inhibited? With the use of steroids or corticosteroids. So if this enzyme is inhibited, we will not find any arachidonic acid, therefore none of these, right? We don't want arachidonic acid. When do we not want prostaglandins, prostacyclins and thromboxanes? So even leukotrienes and lipoxins. When there is inflammation in the body. So a patient comes with huge inflammation in the body. There is so much skin infection. There is so much edema in the body going on. There is brain edema. There is edema of the whole body. There is, let's say, a patient coming with nephrotic syndrome. So they are very edematous. There is a huge amount of fluid in the body. We want that patient to heal. Okay, so what we do is take time to heal. So we give them steroids. So steroids will prevent all of this inflammation from happening. So the patient gets a little time to heal. Steroids are not given forever. They are tapered down over the course of treatment. So along with this, we also have NSAIDs or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like acetaminophen. What is acetaminophen? Paracetamol's other name is acetaminophen, okay? Paracetamol, aspirin, all of those drugs that you take just for headaches, body ache, why do we take them? Why do we take paracetamol? Why does it decrease our headache or migraine or fever? Because it prevents this enzyme, COX or cyclooxygenase. Therefore, the fever-producing prostaglandins will not be formed. Okay? There will not be any secretion of prostaglandins and prostanoids in general. Therefore, we get relief from these from headaches and pain. There are these Montelukast, Zafirlukast. These are the drugs that are used as bronchodilators and in allergy as well. So eicosanoids in general have a very short half-life or short life in a matter of seconds, average 30 seconds. So they act, they come, they synthesize, they get synthesized, they act within 30 seconds and then they're gone. And within the 30 seconds, any minute amounts they are secreted, and yet they have this much biological effect in the body. So they also first undergo oxidation, okay, and then reduction, and fatty acid oxidation like any other fatty acid. So they are known as local hormones, like I said, because of how they act, but they are not true hormones because they are produced in all of the tissues. Prostaglandins and eicosanoids in general are produced all over the body. They are present all over the body. Prostaglandins or prostanoids were first discovered in prostate gland, cells of the prostate gland, so therefore the name prostaglandin came. But they discovered later on that it is present in almost every tissue in our body. Okay, so hormones in general, they have very specific organs in which they are produced. Now, the other point is that these prostaglandins and eicosanoids, they are not stored. They are degraded into inactive products at the site of production itself, because they are in very minute quantity, they act very quickly and they get degraded also very quickly, unlike hormones. Hormones stay for longer, they have storage system also, okay? And they are produced in very small amounts, and hormones are not produced in very small amounts. So they are different from actual hormones in this manner. That's why they are called local hormones and not actual hormones. So we talked about thromboxanes, prostaglandins. Let's talk about lipoxins as well. So lipoxin is also derived from arachidonic acid. We have seen from the diagram before that 5, 15 and 12 lipoxygenase enzyme activity are involved. So what do lipoxins do is that they are vasoactive substances, which means that they can either dilate or they can modify the dilatation and contraction of the blood vessels, okay? And they're involved in chemotaxis. What is chemotaxis or chemostasis? The migration of the cells, whenever migration of the different types of cells towards the site of injury. So say there is a bite or there's a cut in your skin, little cut, so all these neutrophils will go there, then clotting factors will act, leukocytes will go, neutrophils will go, and macrophages will go, and platelet aggregation will happen. All of these, the chemotaxis of them, of the movement of the cell or the cell migration is called as it should be chemotaxis, I have written wrong. So lipoxins help in doing that, and they stimulate superoxide ion generation in leukocytes. Therefore, they kill the microorganism. That's the main function. And leukotrienes. So, like I said, inflammation. They are involved in inflammation inflammation and hypersensitivity reaction. So, one of the very important hypersensitivity reaction is an anaphylactic reaction, which is different from an allergic reaction. So, this anaphylactic reaction happens in huge amount. In the systemic effect is huge. It is different than the little allergy we get. So leukotrienes are involved in causing anaphylaxis or any allergic reaction in the body for that matter. They increase vascular permeability. They also cause vascular constriction, bronchoconstriction. So the bronchus, the muscles of the bronchus gets constricted. So there is difficulty in breathing, leading to, it can trigger asthma and shortness of breath. So they are also involved in attraction, activation and migration of leukocytes to the injury site. So they are also helpful in chemotaxis. So there is a word called SRS, or slow acting substances of anaphylaxis. They are leukotriene C4, D4 and E4. So these three are involved in, they are known as the SRS. What is an SRS? So it's a, histamine or prostaglandin. So histamine is a molecule that causes hypersensitivity reaction or allergic reaction, you can say. So it is 10,000 or 1,000 times more potent than them. So it causes anaphylactic reaction. What happens in anaphylactic reaction? Have you heard of like peanut butter allergy in some children? And so when they take peanut butter, or say peanut in general, they even die of just a taste from that peanut butter or peanut. So that is an anaphylactic reaction. It's a huge reaction that happens in the body. Overall, the whole system of the body gets shut down, and it is lethal if not taken care of within minutes. So who are responsible for that? These leukotrienes are involved in that. So you would see in this picture over here, there is little redness, itchiness, there is little edema. So we get that, right? All of you must have gone through this little allergic reaction for whatever reason. But in anaphylaxis, along with this, you would see that their patient cannot breathe anymore. Okay? There is difficulty in breathing. There is rashes all over. The BP goes down, very dangerously low. And all of this reaction happens in matter of minutes. So I had a senior when I was in Delhi. I was studying in Delhi, and I had a senior. She's also a biochemist. Her mother was old, and she had never taken diclofenac, which is an NSAID, or we have read about it, painkiller. So she was having a headache or something, or maybe her knee was aching because she was old. So she took tablet diclofenac. She did not know that she was allergic to that tablet diclofenac because she had never taken it before. So on that day, she took it, and as soon as she took that tablet, she started having breathing difficulty. And she started having breathing difficulty. She started to turn blue. She couldn't move anymore, and she was, she almost lost consciousness. She was deliric. She had delirium. All of those within a matter of minutes. And thankfully, her other daughter was an anesthesia PG at that point of time. And then she did CPR on her because she wasn't breathing anymore. And then took her to the hospital. She was saved on time. Just from that one tablet of diclofenac that she did not know she was allergic to. And that reaction is called anaphylactic reaction. And this is a very common reaction. It is not very rare. And you will find it when you will go for your clinical settings further on, maybe in the next few years. But you have to act very quickly, and leukotrienes are involved in that. So this was a class for today. We will discuss some Q&A. So I will ask some of you individually to answer questions since you were not paying attention in my class. So I hope you can answer that. I have only a set of 6 questions, and please answer them. They are the easiest questions, okay? So the first question, which enzyme gets released from arachidonic acid to form phospholipids? To my left, anybody who knows the answer, please raise your hand. Okay, please answer. The first question, which enzyme is involved in the release of arachidonic acid? Which enzyme? I didn't get you. Which enzyme? The first question, which is the option? A, B, C or D? Option B. The answer is option C. Remember this? The question was, this was the question, the first step over here. यहाँ से arachidonic acid release होने में कौन help करके देता है? Phospholipase A2. Questions in Viva. Phospholipase A2. Second question, which product is generated from arachidonic acid by Cox pathway? From the next column. People, anybody can answer. Cyclooxygenase से कौन सा बनता है? There is Cox pathway and then there is LOX pathway. How many of you are saying leukotriene? Okay, please answer. Please answer louder. Prostaglandin. Okay. So easy way to remember this is LOX pathway से सारे LOX lipoxygenase L. Please sit down. Thank you. Please clap for him. Okay. Settle down. Enough. LOX pathway L, right? L से lipoxins and leukotrienes. उतना याद रखना. COX pathway से बाकी जो बनता है. So all of this leukotrienes, lipoxins, these are formed by LOX pathway. Stop talking, please. Class is still on. So the next, this one. NSAIDs are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs such as aspirin exert their effect by inhibiting. कौन सा enzyme inhibit करता है aspirin? COX. Okay. Thank you. Very good. Then fourth, this one, very easy question. What is not a physiological role of eicosanoids? Among these, what is not the role of eicosanoids? A, B, C, D. Which one? Answer the question. How many of you say A? Not. इस बार इधर से पूछ रही हूँ. How many of you say A, B, C? Some of you say C and D. No one. So answer is C. Please clap for them as well. Answer your C. Calcium. I have not talked about calcium storage. Okay. They do vasoconstriction, vasodilatation. That's why कुछ prostaglandins will increase BP, some will decrease the BP. Okay, platelet aggregation, you know, thromboxanes, fever and pain modulation. We have talked. We have not talked about calcium. You know the answer. You're not telling me the answer. Okay, next. Again, the last few people, please answer. Which prostaglandin is commonly used to induce labor? इसमें दो यूज होते हैं, दो ऑप्शन सही हैं, but you can say even one. Any one is okay. A, B, C, or D. The rest of you are not supposed to answer. Only the leftmost column. Please tell me. How many of you say A? B? C? Okay. You are just raising hand because other people are raising hands. D? Okay. The answer here would be C. Okay. But even D as well. But mostly E. PGE2. I have mentioned this in the slide. And the last question. Prostaglandins are primarily produced by which pathway? Anybody can stand and answer this question. Please answer B, C. Naam batao. Cyclooxygenase. Okay. I'm ending the class today, but from next time, I will ask one of you to stand and answer the questions, okay?